If you've ever decided to look up fan content for Cookie Run, or have been subjected to it by people you follow online, chances are you'll recognize the designs of the following two characters: Madeleine Cookie and Espresso Cookie. These two characters are some of the franchise's most popular. While there are certainly many reasons behind said popularity, one of the biggest that comes to mind is Espresso, Cookie Run's most well-known pairing. The Espress part comes from Espresso, the Elen comes from Madeleine. I'm sure you get the idea. Assuming you've read the title of this video, you'll come to the conclusion that I don't ship these two. And you'd be right. But why? Before I delve any further into my reasoning, I'd like to give a brief disclaimer. This video isn't some sort of effort to get you to agree with me. If you do, I mean, go me, I guess. But if you don't, that's fine too. This is also not meant to bash on people who do ship this pairing. The only shippers of this pairing that I do scrutinize are the ones saying you can't ship anything else because it is absolutely written into law, because guess what? Cookie Run only has one canon ship. And you know what that is? Royal Berry Cookie and Jungleberry Cookie. So, how about that pure lily, huh? Yeah, I wrote this script back when this wasn't a thing. Granted, we only know it's canon on Pure Vanilla's behalf, but that was more than I was expecting Cookie Run to give us. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. As for Espresso, there's two main reasons I don't ship them. One being that I interpret the moments that these two share as platonic, as opposed to romantic, and another being that I've simply grown a bit tired of seeing them all the time. An alluring factor of the Cookie Run franchise, for those who get involved with shipping, at least, is that the large cast of characters lends itself to basically limitless ship possibilities. There are quite a few ships in this fandom where the only interactions between the characters consist of a snippet of a relationship chart dialogue. Other ships feature characters who have only met once, never to see each other again. Let's take a ship that I have, for example. Vampire and Herb. How many canon interactions do they have? 2 and a dream. Espresso is the opposite of this. They have a side quest, a Bond story, the Eclair update story, and tons of stuff in Cookie Odyssey, which isn't even over yet. So as opposed to something like Vampirb, where you have to fill in the gaps yourself, there is tons of material in canon for you to base your Espresso interactions upon. You can faithfully write them in basically any scenario, since we've already seen them go through so much together in-game. I'll admit that I used to be more of a critic towards this ship. Back during the Eclair update, I thought to myself, God, how could anyone ship this? It's so obvious that Espresso doesn't like him, romantic or not. Shouldn't this be the nail in the coffin? And then Cookie Odyssey came out and they became friends. Cue my surprise. Now, I can't be sure how everyone else sees this ship. Shippers of the same pairing are bound to have things they agree and disagree upon concerning each character's characterization. Heck, even fans of characters as individuals have their own disagreements. I like Espresso by himself, for instance. Those that ship him with Madeleine might think that he's actually been in love with him for quite a while, and him dishing out insults is just his way of showing it. I, however, would disagree. I believe that this line of thought goes against his character. Espresso is a very reactive person. He's not the type to put up with things he dislikes, and he's not afraid to speak his mind. Espresso's comments towards Madeleine are not a unique circumstance. He's complained about others in the past too. In now removed texts of an event during the beginning of Kingdom's lifespan, featuring almond, latte, and espresso, Werewolf Cookie ends up being responsible for bringing Espresso some reagents he needs for a lesson with a student. When Espresso finds out that some of Werewolf's fur was left on the reagents, he reacts with disdain, even though Werewolf is someone who is almost Madeleine's polar opposite. We also see him rant about his disgust for milk in the Tea Night Guild story, making fun of Latte for using it. There's an established pattern here. Why would Espresso make an exception for Madeleine? It doesn't make sense. At least, it doesn't make sense to me. And then we arrive at Cookie Odyssey. While some certainly manage to use the stories that happened before Odyssey as ship fodder, I never did so myself. Espresso saving Madeleine during their side quest? He did that because he's a good person. Anyone would do that, right? With Cookie Odyssey, I can totally understand how you could interpret the shippy moments as romantic, especially on Madeleine's end. But there's nothing that makes these moments explicitly romantic. You aren't misinterpreting anything if you see them as just friends. Being saddened at the prospect of someone you're close to moving away? That happens all the time in non-romantic contexts. I certainly didn't have a crush on my best friend when she moved to Florida in first grade. I just knew I would miss her because we were buddies. Espresso feeling bittersweet watching Madeleine leave the Vanilla Kingdom doesn't strike me as romantic either. During the Odyssey, these two have bonded a lot. And while Espresso still isn't a fan of light magic, he's come around and begun to see the positive sides of Madeleine. Their separation represents a new era for the both of them. I think of it like graduating high school. I certainly didn't like being a high schooler, but there were aspects about it that I did like, and I made memories that I will never be able to replicate. And that brings us to today. I initially wrote this script on December 28th, 2022. The current update at the time was the Pinecone Cookie update, featuring the Holiday Bake Shop and several cake-related cutscenes. One of these is with, you guessed it, Espresso and Madeleine. How is Madeleine back in the Vanilla Kingdom? His aunts wanted to take a vacation, of course. Look, I get it. This ship is recognizable. Having it in any capacity is going to result in tons of tweets and TikToks, which act as free advertising for the game. But doesn't this feel a little too perfect? Madeleine and Espresso meeting again right at the end of the year? Don't get me wrong, I don't mind these two characters being together. In fact, had Espresso gone to see Madeleine of his own free will, I think that would speak volumes towards his character development. I take issue with the fact that this meeting feels forced. I can't help but think these characters have begun to be locked into each other. Odyssey's first 3 chapters ended with a great segue to develop these two separately, only for this cutscene to bring us right back to where we started. Even though this was obviously just a one-off meeting, it feels like backtracking. I want to see Madeleine and Espresso interact with characters besides each other. Like, I know I'm the only Kingdom Alchemist fan, but I really want to see what Espresso thinks of the paper she wrote back in the Espresso and Partner side quest. Alchemist and Espresso would be great buddies, don't you think? There's so much that can be done with Madeleine and Espresso separately, but I fear that the developers will continue to pander to shippers because it's been proven to get engagement time and time again. Let's look at Cookie Run Oven Break, for example. Over on the Oven Break side of things, Timekeeper Cookie is consistently one of the most popular cookies. And what did we just get? A 3rd Time Balance Department update. And it definitely won't be the last if this recently posted lore video is anything to go by. I think that's enough to justify my fear. Again, I don't dislike these two as a duo. I think they contrast each other quite well. I just don't like them as a romantic duo. At least, I don't like them as a romantic duo where we are right now in the story. Cookie Odyssey proved me wrong about their friendship. I was convinced that they would never be anything more than enemies, but I was proven wrong. And honestly, I'm fine with being proven wrong again. The only thing I don't want is for these two to just be smushed together as they are now in order to get more attention and money for the company. But that might all just be me being cynical. Either way, I think I've said enough. Until next time, Meghan out. Peace.